Hi, this is Jeannie at Trinity Tree, and today I'm going to show you how to make a version of a terry bow. We did a Facebook Live yesterday, and we made some bows, and you really couldn't see it on Facebook of the camera view that we had, so I wanted to take out this morning and just make another bow for you and show you exactly how I did that. We used the Pro Bow. Now, you don't have to use a tool like this to make a bow. You can freehand tie a bow. And today I'm going to show you how to make a terry bow, or a version of a terry bow. The terry bow is a technique developed by Terry Marshall of Mill and Deal Design. So she's got a great YouTube video. If you just go to YouTube and search for terry bow, T-E-R-R-I bow, you'll find that. And it's a great tutorial. The Pro Bow is an item that we sell here at Trinity Tree. This is the large. That's the one that we have in stock, and mine is an older version. So the newer one will look a little different from this because the newer version has all these holes and lines numbered for you, whereas mine does not. But the first thing we're going to do is take our Pro Bow, and it comes with a spool holder that will hold 3 rolls of ribbon. And I'm going to, the lines are numbered and the holes are numbered. So I'm going to make about a 12-inch bow. So I'm going to come out to the C line. I have just written in the markings on my board. And I'm going to take some pegs. I'm going to put one in my starting place. And I'm going to make... Typically when I make a bow, I will use 2.5 ribbon and 1.5-inch ribbon. On this particular wreath, I've used all 2.5-inch ribbon. I've got 4 different styles picked out, and I'm just going to vary those as I add them, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. But I'm going to come out to the C level, and since I have, for this wreath, I need to explain to you, for this wreath, I wanted to use 4 or 5 or even 6 bows on the wreath instead of just doing ribbon strips. So I'm going to take my pegs and put them in the C level, C row. I have 4 ribbons, and I'm going to use each one of my ribbons 4 times. Excuse me, I have 4 ribbons, and I'm going to use them 1 time each. Excuse me. And you can make different kinds of bows. You can use double ribbons. Let me move those up. You can use different sizes of ribbons. Lots of different ways to do that. But I'm going to start out, I'm going to make 4 loops for my ribbons. And I'm going to use each ribbon 1 time. Now the first thing I want to do is cut a piece of floral wire, and this is just paddle wire. I'm just going to cut a couple of pieces of that. Just going to fold that in half and lay it aside. Cut another piece. I'll need 2 pieces. And kind of fold that in half and lay it aside. I'm going to start out, I have 2 of my bows I have a good texture. They're pretty thick. But I'm going to start out with a ribbon that's a kind of a satin ribbon, and it's just a little thinner, a little easier to work with. So I'm just going to slide that on my ribbon holder with the ribbon coming off of the right side. I'm going to measure my tail. So I'm going to make this tail, I'm going to come about out to the B mark for this tail. And this is my center point. This is kind of my starting place. So I'm going to measure that tail, and I've just cut my ribbon at an angle. You can chevron those ends if you want to, but I've just cut them at an angle. And then I'm going to pinch that ribbon up. I'm going to take one of my pieces of wire. I'm going to twist my ribbon and have my right side of my ribbon is going to go toward this post. I'm going to take my wire and just wrap it around that where I have it pinched. Twist that a couple of times. This is going to be my wire that I'm going to use to hold my ribbon together when I'm done. So I'm just going to twist that a couple of times to get it tight. So now I'm going to take my ribbon face side toward the post, and I'm going to attach it about halfway up the post. You don't want to do it way down low. You want to put it about halfway of the post and just press that against the peg. I have one of my wires coming off the top and one off the bottom. I'm going to take this top wire and just wrap around that peg. I'm just going to do that to get that wire out of my way for right now. And there's a little tiny nail on the back of the board. I'm going to wrap this other end around that just a couple of times. And then I'm going to take that end of my wire and just kind of tuck it under my board to get it out of the way. I can't get a hold of it. Just get that out of the way. So now I'm ready to make my first loop. So I've got my right side up. I'm going to go around that first loop, come back to the center, come back right to where I attached that ribbon, and I'm going to pinch that together. I'm going to press it right there, hold it. I'm going to twist that tail and go around that first peg, come back to the center, and then I'm going to pinch that up, gather that up. Got my ribbon stacked right on top of each other. Twist that ribbon because I want my tail, that's going to be my tail, and I want it facing right side up. Take my other piece of wire and go between those loops. This is going to be my working wire. I'm going to have to wire each loop, each ribbon strip together. So I'm going to twist that wire a couple of times, and then I'm going to put one piece of wire to the top out of the way and one to the bottom. Then I'm going to come over here to about my B mark and cut that ribbon free. So I will be finished with that ribbon. And just push that tail up out of the way. And if my tails are uneven, I can work on those later. So next I'm just going to take this stiffer ribbon. Is a little harder to work with. I'm just going to come around. I'm going to measure my tail. And this time I'm going to come about out to the C mark, and then I'm going to pinch my ribbon. I want the face up away from me. You're kind of building your bow from the top down. I'm going to take that and I'm going to press it right next. Just keep stacking that ribbon right on top of each other. I'm going to go around that second peg and make a loop. Come back to the center. And if you have to, on like this thick ribbon like this, if you drop it like I did, you can go ahead and wire that together right now just to hold it. I mean, that doesn't hurt anything. Come back to the center, pinch it up. This is really stiff, especially where the polka dots are. I just keep stacking my ribbon right on top of each other. And I'm going to twist to get my right side up. Go around that loop on that side. Come back to the center. Keep holding. Come back to the center. Gather that up again. I'm going to twist. And before I cut my tail, I'm going to take my wire from the top, my working wire, and I'm going to wire that piece of ribbon on. Okay, I always end by putting my wire to the top out of the way and one to the bottom. And then come over, measure your tail. We can always even up these tails later if we need to. Okay, so now I've used 2 ribbons and I've got 2 loops. So now I'm going to use another ribbon. This is a really pretty ho-ho-ho ribbon. And I'm going to measure my tail, coming about out to the C mark. Pinch that ribbon together, or pinch it face side toward the board, stack it right on top of that last ribbon, make a loop around that third peg, come back to the center, pinch that up, twist it, get the right side up, make a loop around the third peg on the left, come back to the center, pinch that up, twist, And before I cut my tail, I'm going to wire that ribbon on. You want to wire each ribbon on as you finish it. And then I can measure my tail and cut. Okay. So now my last ribbon is this pretty red truck ribbon. It's white and red, and it's a thicker ribbon too, so it's a little harder to work with. If you're new to bow making, I would say go somewhere like to Sam's and buy some of that 50-yard roll of ribbon that you can get for $6 or $7. Get sheer and practice with it. But pinch up that, and I just keep stacking my ribbon right on top. Make my loop. I'm going to go ahead and secure that ribbon just so I don't have to worry so much about holding it. Come back to the center, pinch it up. I'm going to twist to get the right side up and go around the last loop, my 4th peg. The terry bow actually uses like 6 different ribbons and uses 6 pegs, so you can just, you can make your bow any number of ways. Turn my ribbon to get my last tail right side up, and now I'm going to take my wire and tie this ribbon on. And then come out, measure my tail, and cut that ribbon off. Okay, so now I've got 4 loops and 4 tails. So this is my working wire, so I'm just going to bring that down and move it out of the way. Now I'm going to go back to this wire that we started with. It was wrapped around the peg, and I'm going to unwrap that. This is what's going to hold the whole bow together. And I'm going to get the wire, the one that I put under the board, and around this little nail, around that little nail right there, I'm going to unwrap that. And this is the wire that's going to hold that whole bow together. That was my wire that I used to tie on each ribbon. I'm just going to push it out the side for right now. So I'm going to take this, and you want to make that stack just as small, tight as you can. I'm going to take my ribbon, take that wire, squeeze it tight, and give it several turns. And then I'm going to take that wire that was my working wire and kind of twist those together for just a little bit. And that will be my wire that I use to tie my bow, to put my bow, whatever I'm going to attach it to. So now I want to gently lift my bow off. Sometimes that's okay, your pegs will come out, that's fine. So you can see the bow is just stacked, one ribbon right on top of the other, and then I have my wires on the bottom to secure it to my wreath. So now what we need to do is fluff out the bow. This is just a board with a nail in it, a screw and a nail. You can buy a fluff board though, fluff box. You can buy that at probow.com. We don't sell those at Trinity Tree, but they are available. Now I'm ready to fluff my bow. I don't know that it really matters if you start from the top or if you start from the bottom, but I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to pull a loop one way and a tail the opposite way. So if I've got a loop over here, I put a loop on the opposite side, and then the tails like that. So the next one I'm going to pull the tail over under this loop and leave this loop under this tail. You just have to kind of divide them out like that. You can do it lots of different ways, or just separate them is the main thing. So on this one, since I've got a tail here, I'm going to pull that loop around. And okay, and then on the last one, just pull them and separate them. This is all wired ribbon, which makes it much, much easier. Okay, okay, so now there's your bow. It's a version of the terry bow, and I'll use my wires to attach it. And like I say, if any of your tails are too long, you can trim them off a little bit if you need to. And that's it. Thanks for watching. All this ribbon came from Trinity Tree. We have all sorts of work forms, ribbons, seasonal decorations, and poly mesh, just all sorts of things to make wreaths out of. We hope that you'll subscribe to our channel and follow us on Facebook, and so you can watch us do some live videos. Thanks for dropping in. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.